update stuff.
All right.
Hello, hello. I don't know if anyone can hear me in here. I am here with the Mottokrosh Machinations crew, or what's left of it today. Kara is impersonating Anna today, but everyone's up and dressed, and that's about all we can expect. Anyway, I'm going to take this off to give you all a chance to hear my beautiful and not at all tired voice.
Is it really just to show off your hair?
It's all right today, isn't it? It's looking good. It's looking good. I'm still confused by this is being turned around. The end of it, but yeah, it's fun. Anyway, we're here once again to answer all your questions from a variety of sources. Do send them in the YouTube or Twitch chats as well. We have eagle eyes on them somewhere. Dave, you have eagle eyes on them, don't you?
Tired eagle eyes, but sure.
Okay, young eagle eyes who are not so experienced yet at spotting these things. But yes, so we have some question already in our Discord chat. And if there's any other ones coming in while we're here, we'll be happy to answer those as well. Who wants to kick us off with a question?
Maybe a quick intro of who we all are, just in case anybody...
Right. Okay, good. Someone's thinking this through. So I'm Frank, and I run Mottokrosh Machinations, where we make games like this one here, Hypertellurians. Normally I would present you the cover artist, but she's not right here. She's not here right now, but we do have, there we go, interior artist as well. So we're artists represented here a little bit, and variety of playtesters and stuff, but they'll explain that themselves. Also, the book has just come out. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this later, all bets are off. But it's pretty. It's got this glossy thing there. Very, very bright end papers with cool art, and it's full of art. There's a lot of it, and this massive adventure in the back, starting adventure, which is super easy to reference at the table. Everything is always on the same pages, etc. With additional art crammed in where necessary. Sorry, where possible, not where necessary. It's always necessary. Yes, that's that. So let's go around. Let's start here.
So I'm Kara. I am a playtester for Hypertellurians, and I am part of the Expo crew now for a year? 2 years? A year?
Mm-hmm.
A while.
I'm Tina. I'm also a playtester for Hypertellurians, and I joined the Expo crew this year. So
Fresh blood.
excited.
Yes. Hi, I'm Karen. I do artwork and whatever's needed behind the scenes. And over to Dave.
Yeah, I'm Dave. I'm one of the contributors and also one of the playtesters.
Awesome. Then let's finally. So that was the first question. Who on earth are we? Or who in the Ultracosm are we? And moving on. Dave, do you want to read the first question?
Yep. I don't think we covered this last time.
I'm also going to close the window.
Why is it called the Manville edition?
Well, yeah, well, no, I thought I talked about this because the Anvil and Manville edition is too long.
Maybe you did. I can't. I'm too tired for that.
Also, only just remember. Yeah, that would have been too long, and I couldn't decide between Anvil and Manville, so hence the brackets. But the real question might be, who are these people? And they are recurring characters dotted throughout the books. And if you want to find out more, you'll have to join in the actual play in a couple of hours, where we have a very special guest playing the son of Anvil and Manville. So yeah. What else do we have?
What programs do you use to make all the fancy schmancy things?
So I guess the first question is, which fancy schmancy things are we talking about? If we're talking about the book, I use, well, my brain again, but I guess that's also not really the question. So I use Affinity Publisher in general. I use a little bit of Photoshop, but honestly, the Affinity Suite, Publisher, Designer, and Photo is so excellent that it just does everything, and I can switch instantly between them. Well, if I need to touch up a bitmap or anything like that, it's really, really awesome. Yeah, I've only really got back into layout and desktop publishing a few years back now. I had quite a big break, like a 20-year break. Before that, I worked on Quark Express, and InDesign was just a tiny little toddler coming out the door, trying to push Quark Express out of the way. Now, of course, it's an industry titan and suitably expensive. Yeah, but Affinity Publisher does practically everything I needed to do. And the one or two things that it doesn't, I'm sure it will get there very, very quickly too. I hope that answers the question about the fancy schmancy things. Yeah.
Okay, next question is a rules question for Hypertellurians. After character creation, can you pick an archetype power from any archetype if it makes sense narratively?
Well, okay. In theory, no, because the archetype powers are supposed to really represent the archetypes. And I could say that they've been balanced against one another within an archetype, but that would be a blatant lie. So then, yes, it's your game. You can do what needs to be done. And if you want to do that, do it. Just be careful about opening that can of worms as people start. Yeah, you very quickly notice with your group which are the most popular powers, and then you can always look at them. It's like, oh, are they a little broken, or are the players just thinking about it in a purely combative way?
Maybe a minimum of 2-page essay that explains why you should use that power.
Yeah, but then the GM has to read that.
No, he doesn't have to read it. He just has to do the word count and make sure it's not.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, you can do what you want in your game as long as it's fun. I would just be a little careful about that one in particular.
I think from having played in your games quite a lot, and you are quite a GM, likes to say yes if it's going to be fun. But I do think you have a consideration of, if you say yes to this, is it taking away another player's bit of game? So if another player's playing that archetype, are you taking away what makes their character special? And I think that's an important thing to sort of bear in mind with those sort of
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, because everyone's got a different play style, and some people might be quiet at the table, but they enjoy it just the same. And so you want to make sure, and even if sometimes as a GM you ask them a little bit, saying, don't you have this power? And they go, oh, maybe it's a yes, but I didn't want to talk over other people or something like that. And so, yeah, spread the love, the power love, as it were.
So the next question is, why does Study and Bulwark have such regular names? Did Frank have an abstract alliteration aneurysm?
An abstract alliteration aneurysm. I saw that question, and that is just the best name. Now, first of all, Bulwark, I think, is a fantastic name because no one can properly pronounce it. I certainly can't. And try and say it 3 times quickly. Anyone? Bulwark? Yeah, see, 2 times and that's it. It was stuck. It's a bit.
I'm waiting for the Bulwark monster to now appear.
The Bulwark monster, yeah.
No, you've said it 3 times.
Do you have to say it in a mirror? I'm not sure.
No.
3 times.
But yeah, I love that name. And sometimes a small, even if I know it's just one word, has no alliteration or wordplay, but it's just a nice word that's underused. And so I'm bringing it back. That's really it. Study, on the other hand, yeah, I didn't come up with something better there. I don't remember why, actually. I blame my editors. They didn't point that out, and now it's in print. They should have gone like, "What on earth is this? What do you think this is? Regular English class?" Yeah, study 1, 2, 3. Yeah, at least the other one, the sort of meta 1, 2, 3 one, Hard Knocks, has got a name that you can't immediately associate with anything other than, well, I guess punching. Yeah. Yeah, no, so whoever posed this question, you are right. Study is a bit of a regular name. But it's too late now. We're stuck with it. Also, people don't take that power very often. I guess they prefer slapping around the spell tomes anyway. But also, I guess in a one-shot, in a short game, it's not so useful because you're unlikely to run out of slots on your belt or whatever. But in a longer term campaign, it's like, well, I'm not carrying around 8 books. Abstract alliteration aneurysm, though. We're going to make that a spell in the Discord a bit later.
Okay, so then we have what has been the most interesting interpretation of a power so far?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'm not sure I can immediately think of one, so I'm going to pass this on because you've all been running games or playing games, so you should have your own answers for that.
Okay.
I've got one for Wondrous Action, but I'll get back to that one in a bit. Not everybody at once.
Yeah.
I mean, we had like just now in the demo game, which was quite nice. We had this construct that had like all these tubes to speak, and my character had like a trumpet, and we combined these two to make a really loud noise to bring us forward in the balloon, which was quite nice actually.
It was a nice little trumpet-powered motor.
Yeah. Yes.
And what was the power that?
It was just the character. It wasn't as
Technically not a power.
it was just equipment
okay.
and everything else, but that was super fun.
Yeah. Just like top of my head just now.
I mean, I quite liked in one of our playtest groups, this wasn't a power, this was more an archetype interpretation. And that was for the alien, where one of the players, their character was like a being made of light. But they used the alien archetype, and for alien you would normally think of something more fleshy and gooey. But actually how it worked, it all really worked well. That's the character concept, and powers all sort of melded with the concept. And I thought it was a nice demonstration of how the archetypes can be really, really broad if you want them to be.
So I'm actually going to remind myself of some of the powers and see if that could... level playing field. So I had a game yesterday where a room was being flooded with oil, and in order to sort of... Well, the first thing they thought of was to basically lower the floor, and so the oil would fall in that, and that would bought them time, which was nice. I like that. That was good. What else do we have? What's the beast?
I'm going to have to take this opportunity to talk about one of my characters at all. To do. I played in one of the playtests a genie, and I had the Box Day Magus power. And so once the players worked out that I was a genie and that I could grant wishes, they started asking me for things. And so they started like saying, I wish I was no longer covered in this sewage. And I was going with this sort of malicious compliance. So they were then covered in fish guts. And so basically I would grant all their wishes until they stopped asking me. It wasn't going to improve the situation.
I came across Unliving, which is the Revenant's, one of the Revenant's starting power, and I statted up Son of Anvil and Manville for the games and demo games today, and I made him a Revenant. And my thinking behind that was Unliving. It says you don't eat, breathe, or sleep, and so on and so forth. And I thought, well, Anvil and Manvil don't need to do such basic things as that, so why would the sun? So that's an interpretation thereof. I just added the word except just occasionally. And so that worked quite nicely with that. What else do we have? Grace and rallying speech, kind of getting used as they're intended. There's something from favored is also just kind of used as it is, I suppose. Yeah. We did have a very, very traditional use of the stars are right power in a game. Was that with you?
Spell, right?
Was it this? Oh no! That was a spell. But the stars are right would have worked for that just the same. Where basically they came across a bunch of cultists who were busy building a church for their cult, and then the party kind of not only joined them but actually took it over by saying, "Look what we can do. We are the ones you've been waiting for."
Yes.
They used the Light Legion spell, which says you summon the native light creatures from the sun, which means that the sun is then extinguished, etc. So that was a nice interpretation of that spell.
Yeah. The Light Legions were just the byproduct.
Yeah. The fact
that the sun was gone.
exactly the fact that you now had hundreds of light soldiers there was just by the by.
Yeah.
What other cosm powers do we have? So just having a look. Cosm powers, because we have a lot of those have been used for amateur surgery. Has been used for a bunch of stuff.
I just want to ask, Derek, how long did it take the other players to stop using you as a GM?
I mean, they were like sort of. It was a few sessions. It was, they kind of like were. I mean, I was still using the power to advance like the plot and sort of the story, but as soon as it was sort of frivolous, I want this. They I think they some of them caught on quicker than others.
One of the ones that I also very quite liked was this one called Tellurian of Unusual Size, which was kind of just designed for someone to play something super tall or something super small. But then one of our players decided he was going to play something extremely wide. And because Tellurian of Unusual Size is just a riff of the rodents of unusual size from the Princess Bride. Thank you very much. I had to add in this line about, once out of sight, people tend to believe that you don't exist, which is also just like a throwaway comment at the end of the power, which had very little to do with the rest. But then in our game, this person went off by themselves to do some scouting or something, and the rest of the party forgot who they were, that they existed, so they moved on. And this happened several times. And until it was no longer funny, which I don't think it ever stopped being.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I like that very much. I'm also reading Mighty Launch, but actually, there's one character. It didn't have Mighty Launch, or it might have had Mighty Launch as well. But he went to a market and he traded a power word for something else. Actually, the market, I believe, is also in Heart of the Atomizer, and it's you can trade names, power words, and the way it mechanically works, you get to use that word of power, but you as a player must give up another word, a similar word, and if you ever utter it by accident in or out of character, you lose the other power. So one of our characters traded the word power. The power word launch, and I think he traded it for his word stop or something. Yeah. And then that was used for absolutely everything, launch, and it was always applicable and appropriate in some fashion. At one point, you were running from a crumbling knot in the center of the ultracosm, and you found a spaceship of some sort. And it's like, does anyone know how to pilot this thing? And the character just goes, "I've got this. launch. Fair enough. Can't argue with that. But also might have even been on the same ship later on, where you had like a dragon or something flying alongside you, and I was trying to make it sound like it was trying to bring the point across that it was super big and super scary, and you should maybe try and escape it or something. No, his character uses powered launch to launch himself onto the dragon first of all, and then later to launch him and the dragon into collision course with the ship, which broke the mast, but other than that it worked. So yeah, and then at some point he accidentally said stop.
Oh.
None of us noticed it, but he did.
Oh, that's very good.
So I can't think of any other power like that off the top of my head. Although I do make powers up on the spot for pre-gens as well. I made one pre-gen. He was like from the solemn scriptures of the battle nuns of the merciful Sepulchre. First go. He was basically a pack animal, so I gave him like a power called pack mulery, where he can essentially carry like 10 times as much or something like that as anyone else. And I gave Son of Anvil and Manvil, I gave the power stupidly strong, because why not? Yeah, I think that's enough about that, unless someone else has got any other anecdotes for that.
Okay. So the next question is, what was your favorite thing your players do?
For me, it's surprise me with crazy stuff, which just feeds into the whole loop. You know, discover cool shit, do cool shit, advance, and crazy. I've said it already. Crazy shit has been done many times, and it's always fun.
Yeah. For me, it's more or less the same. The crazier the response, the more fun I usually have. If they have me basically putting my head to the table, being like, "Oh, that's the perfect." I love when they make me do this.
I'm trying to remember. There was like way back when, what some of the very first playtests for A Bride for Dracula. I think it was some of the first stuff that we playtested Hypertellurians for, and there was a thing where all the teeth are on display, and I was expecting that people would go and swap them around or something like that, and do things like that. And someone glued them shut. That's fair. Didn't see that coming.
For the game we played yesterday, we had the teeth on display, and one of the characters had a mucus membrane that has one of 4 possible things that would happen if it's ingested. So they took the mucus and rubbed it on all the other contestants' ivory teeth. And so when all of them went to do the biting competition, they all had to see what would happen.
What was it? One of the options is like you attract bees or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Did that happen?
No.
No?
So in the end, most of them were able to avoid it, but then Dracula ended up ingesting it and spent the next 50 minutes puking.
Oh.
Yeah, I absolutely love it when a player uses a power to support another player's character concept or just crazy idea. But I think that's an important thing in Hypertellurians, perhaps more so than some other ones, because it is truly collaborative. You can talk, stupid stuff in the game, but ultimately, because Wanda is communal, you do kind of work together anyhow a little bit. And so you're a little bit more likely to at least help each other out from a mechanical point of view. But I like it, especially if people help out other characters on a concept level, which is harder. Like if someone wants to play, I come back to this example. If someone wants to play like a leader character, but they as a player might be a bit more shy, it's very easy for other people, for players to sort of support that. Before they do something, they just go, what does our glorious leader say, or something like that. Actually enjoyed that in our the Simbarum game that we've had recently with Dave, where they've decided every week they're going to have a different leader and then just follow their instructions, which is interesting. Not sure that in game that's a super viable tactic, but hey.
No, but it does. One of the good things about it is that it does cut down on the lengthy discussion before you go and do something. It's kind of like we start having a discussion, and then soon, within like 30 seconds, someone will go, "Well, what does the leader say?" And then like they say, "Well, I think we should do this." And everyone goes, "That's what we're doing."
Yeah. It's one of my early. I can't remember what's GM tips or player tips in the book, saying just watch out for like players planning for way too long. In more tactical games, that I've seen that a lot as a bit of a problem, like in say D&D or something. People will spend an hour planning, and you can see the GM's eyes glazing over, and they go like, "Look, I'm just going to roll on this random table anyway. It doesn't." In Hyper-Tellurians, it's not a big deal because most of the time the GM has no idea what's going to happen either, and because it's quite swingy in a way, but it's got the safety net of your wonder points. You can often get away and are encouraged to do lots of strange things. There's a couple of other approaches some other games are taking that are also quite interesting, and I think work very well for that kind of game, which is the heist game with a flashback. Blades in the Dark, I think I'm thinking of, where if you might have to play or tell a little flashback scene about why that happened or why that's there. That stash. You play a little flashback scene about when you placed it there and stuff like that, which is also quite fun. And I was actually toying with the idea of making that a power, but I'm a little in Hyper-Tellurians, but I was just a tiny bit worried about introducing another sort of subsystem, even if it's a narrative one. I want to make sure this is super system light, so I don't have to remember much of the system.
Okay, and next question is, what is your favorite random table?
Of mine or in general?
Let's go with both.
Let's go with both. And that's a very good question, because there are an awful lot of random tables out there, and not all of them are super great. There was one, on the other hand, that I used a lot in a game of ours, and that was the Wand of Wonder. It was the D1000 table of the Wand of Wonder, which I think was a little OSR production that I picked up, and I do not currently remember who it was by. I'm so sorry, but if you Google D1000 Rod of Wonder, you should probably find it. And though I used that in Hyper-Tellurians, so I had to interpret a given effect if like it had an entry with some mechanical effects, and I just sort of used that narratively and translated that narratively into like a Hyper-Tellurians effect. So that was really good fun, because 1,000 is a lot. This is quite a lot. Another one that I super love, actually, and I haven't used very much yet at all, is the Merkborg calendar of Nechubel. So for those not familiar with it, of course you know about any award-winning Merkborg, if you haven't lived under a rock, analog or digital. But it's got a calendar in it, and that looks like it's written like Psalms with their numbers and stuff. Yeah. And it's a prophecy of doom and lots of steps of doom. I think and then when you run the game, you decide at the beginning of your campaign or whatever how often you're going to roll on the calendar for a calamity of some sort, and that then changes the way in the world in some fashion. And the way it's written is just, it's got this real biblical gravitas to it, which is very, very cool. And the seven, I think it's the seventh one, is always the end of the world, and you have to burn your book.
Oh.
It's a rule.
Is that where the picture comes from?
Yes.
Is that how they're driving up the sales?
you want to play again? You have to buy another book. Cunning. I mean, I don't subscribe to book burning, but cunning tactic. Yeah. So those I really like, but I also love random item tables and random spell tables, and I've written a whole bunch of them over the various publications, including one themed heavily after cod pieces for brutal impalement in the bag of infinite holding. I don't know why. It's not just cod pieces. There's cool other stuff in there as well. Something about brass, for example. But I've since written a ton of these, including a whole bunch more for the new Hypertellurians, and I've put them all together in a spreadsheet and wrote a little app in front of it, which you can find at random.mottokrosh.com. And you go there and it picks up a random item from everything, and I keep adding to it as I make new things, because it's fun. Even the little things, random item can produce so much story. In the new starting adventure, there's like a triptych, which shows like a heavenly scene, kind of more of a indistinct kind of scene, and a hellish kind of scene. And in one of the games there was a sort of a somewhat murderous mermaid, which got banished into one of the scenes. And then honestly, I was hoping that the characters might go after her into it and stuff, but they didn't. They just left her in there, cruel, just for a little murder, So yeah, I think those are some of my favorite random tables.
And I think you're saying about random magic or items, not necessarily magic. As a player, you kind of collect them on your character sheet, and a lot of them just sit there doing nothing. But every now and again, this item that's been there for like ages just is the perfect thing for the situation you're in, and it's a great sort of thing as a player when you can just kind of pull out sort of like this weird oddity that is just absolutely spot on for what you're doing, and it makes for good table play.
I mean, one of the things I try to discourage is item hoarding, and that's why in part you have the sort of the fixed slots, but it still happens a little, and people start using bags, like henchmen or something. But it does happen. Same with spell tomes and stuff. I think wasn't it your character very early on found the summon Barbers, King of the West, God of Gods or something. Spell and didn't dare use it until the very end of the campaign.
Yeah, we had lots of discussions about how using the spell was a bad idea. I mean, it was our default. We don't know what we're going to do for this problem that's ahead of us, and then basically someone would say, "Let's summon Barbers, King of the West." They were like, "No!"
And I was getting so excited every single time, and then it never happened. Son of Corzon, that's it, King of the West. Barber, son of Corzon, King of the West. Yeah. Great. I think that's all the questions from the interrogation chamber.
Yeah.
Is there anything on the chat?
No, we're up to date.
Okay, I'm just gonna check. I've been buzzing on Twitter. No, that's just people liking stuff, which is fine. Then I have a question actually for people as well, and maybe you can each tell me. Do you have a favorite archetype?
Yes, but it's not specifically because of the archetype. It's just like how I like to play my characters.
Okay.
My favorite is the Beast because I like to go all in with characters. So, like Barbarian's my favorite class in D&D because I just like to go in and just like smash shit. If I'm playing something
Typical murder hobos.
something like Diablo 3, for example, I'll go in, I'll just spam as much. Like, I have no strategy. I don't do the area effect stuff, any of that. So Beast is right there for me. Just feral mind, I'm going to kill everything. It's fine.
So you're using feral mind as the excuse.
Yeah,
It's like,
basically.
look, it says so in the book.
I don't have control.
Deep
it's
down, we're all animals. I'm
it's
just
not my fault.
at least honest about it.
Yeah.
What about you, Tina?
I have to say, for me, it's the Autonaut. Maybe it's because it's the first character I played in Hyper Tiberians, but I also quite like. It is spacey, pulp fiction like vibe, and I think the Autonaut just fits very well. And I like the powers. You have this favorite stuff, which is also always quite nice when you have like a movie like. Moment. I don't know, there was this moment where it's like somebody chained to two posts, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna, like Captain Kirk, like I'm gonna laser these two, not laser, but
shoot them off.
Shoot them these, both of them off in one move, and then like a catchy line to that, and then.
Because I was going to make you roll, right? And then you said, "But I'm favored."
Yes,
fair enough.
Would work in
fair
movies,
enough. It works. It works.
Yeah, I like it.
What about you, Karen?
I like the alien concept with all the weird stuff that I kind of get involved with outside of role-playing. I introduce characters like they're from this plane, and like filter in all this weird stuff that I read up on.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say I don't really have a favorite. I've played 4 of the archetypes through the playtests, and I really enjoyed all of those 4. So, and there's bits about the different ones that really, because things like I quite like playing social characters, so there's elements of the royal that really appeal to me. But then the whole chance to play the kind of Saturday morning kids TV hero as an Ultranaut, I really enjoyed that character, and with the others as well. So no, I don't really think I have a favourite.
I was thinking about that myself, and I'm also not sure I have one because of exactly that. Everything is kind of fun to play in its own right. Yeah. Also, I hardly ever get to play.
No.
But also, tiniest violin. I did make up a character for a game that one of our friends ran for us, and I wanted to make something quite contrary in a way. So I chose the Beast archetype and made him a wizard or sorcerer, something like that, which was good fun. With the staff, you could whisper secrets into the staff, and the secrets would go off. And in fact, that made it in the book in the end. The Staff of Secrets, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah, but I like every every archetype for the possibilities that it sort of grants me. Alien, I just like the idea of playing something that really hasn't got like a human body in that way. You can just phase through things. Beast is fun because of the pulpy connection, where in this sort of science fantasy stories of old, you always had the aliens kind of being these bestial characters with spears, which is fun. The construct, because then you can be a brain in a jar or a fortune-telling booth on wheels, a sentient fortune-telling booth like that.
With a hand that can go around.
Yeah. The Revenant, so you can play your snooty aristocratic vampire and be all goth, which is nice. Or a skeletal guard who's been guarding something for 1,000 years and then decided, you know what, I don't think anyone's coming anymore. I'll go off into the wide world. And the Royal, so you can play magical girls and princesses, of course.
And princess.
I'm talking about me here. No, I wouldn't play. Then I'll play like a warlord, I think. Yeah, no, I always find prince is kind of unless.
Oh, how nice would a magical warlord be?
A magical
you could go
warlord.
through a magical transformation and get his warlord outfit on.
Oh. Unicorn horn.
Yeah.
Would his muscles then theoretically just like juice up during the phase?
Isn't that what Super Saiyan does?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
It's
actually,
like, the muscles get bigger.
it's a magical. It's a magical man transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, Ultranaut is great because then you can play Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
Cool. Do we have any more questions? I think that might be it.
I think we're at the end of our questions.
Okay, then. Well, I think then we're going to call this short a little, so we don't just waffle on, and we get ready and flex our creative muscles for the actual play with our very special guests in not too long now. So thanks everyone for watching, now or later. I'm thanking you in advance for your later watching. This has been the Mottokrosh Machinations crew from Virtually Expo. We'll see you in the Discords. Bye.
You didn't answer my question.